Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza and Alex Napoles. Thanks for making us part of your Saturday morning. Hope you have great weekend plans. Smack dab right in the middle of summer. Let's get it.
It's one of the best times, man. As far as like going out and exploring and seeing nature and being out grilling and whatnot. Not necessarily the best sports time, but it is a good time to go out and relax a little bit.
Let's talk some Big 12 football, Alex, specifically with Utah, because there were a couple things that came out this week. This is for entertainment purposes only. We do not endorse betting. I don't bet. But as far as, you know, it's part of sports now. It is. And whether it's right or wrong, there are a lot of people that bet, and it makes a lot of money. And it always shows an indicator of what people think. And I think that's why we're bringing this up, specifically when you look at odds to win the Big 12, right? Leaving media days, even just last week, it was like, oh, this is wide open. It could be anybody's league. And there still is a sense to that, right? But we're seeing more and more over the last several days, a lot of these sports books all of a sudden have Utah as the favorite to win the Big 12. And I'm looking at FanDuel and BetMGM specifically, two of the bigger ones, right? And that kind of caught me off guard a little bit because it's like, is this not the same song and dance that we had last year?
Kind of feels like it.
And I know that last year Utah had Cam Rising supposedly coming back. And he did come back. He played a game and a half. Or was it 2.5 games? No, he played a game and a half. Again, that SCU game was crazy. What was he? I think he was 10 of 15 with 5 touchdowns.
Right. And then there was
the Gatorade cooler
incident. Oh yeah. He did come back though. Don't forget, he did play against Arizona State, and
that I'm convinced that wasn't even Cam Rising. That was a body double.
Someone that just looks like him. I think a lot of, fairly so. I think a lot of Utah fans kind of try to erase that game out of their memories because it was not. It was not fun.
But then you get so you understand why they were ranked so highly last year,
yes.
Right? This year,
with how much they were returning last season, from the year before, right? Everybody made a grand, everybody made a big deal about Cam Rising coming back.
Yeah,
and
because they were coming off back-to-back Pac-12 championships,
right?
Essentially,
right. And obviously there was still that injury, that the knee injury that Cam Rising was dealing with the year before, where they went, 9-4 with Bryson Barnes and Nate Johnson?
Right. There was that year in between.
Yes.
Yeah. But Cam was coming back, and you thought he was healthy, and you thought you were getting him back. So, yeah, that's why people were high on them last year. This year, you bring in Jason Beck as the new offensive coordinator. With Devin Dampier, he was Mountain West Player of the Year, led one of the highest scoring offenses in the country last year. So you would expect that the offense is going to be a lot better, but it's like I'm not ready to talk myself into Utah football winning the Big 12.
Right.
And, of course, if that happens, wonderful. That's great for us. It's great for our jobs. It's great for the local market. It's great for Kyle Whittingham. Great for the program. But I don't know where this is coming from. Again, I think it shows the respect that Kyle Whittingham has, the respect that the defense has, because it shows that sort of group mentality. They're all thinking, no way that Kyle Whittingham doesn't get this program back on track. So when you start thinking like that, then it starts kind of rolling into convincing yourself that they can win the conference, I guess.
Right.
That's the only way I could imagine that you get here. I don't think Devin Dampier is going to be the best quarterback in the Big 12. And I would argue that you probably need that if you're going to win the conference.
Who would it be for you then?
I think there are a handful of guys. I think if you tier them off, in the first tier, you've definitely got Sam Levitt and Sawyer Robinson. Maybe Rocco Beck. Maybe. It's hard to say because Devin Dampier was in the Mountain West, and I don't want to poo-poo on them, but it is a step up in competition, right?
Right.
It is a step up in competition, and I do
Yeah.
think that Devin Dampier can play. I think he can ball out, but I don't think he's going to come in and be one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league. And maybe he does. Maybe he does. I think that he is in the tier right below that, right? I think that he has the chops to lead a very good offense, one of the better Utah offensives that we've seen in the last several years, although the bar is not high. But it's like, I don't know, and maybe that is serviceable enough when you have the defense that Utah has, when you have the coaching staff that Utah has. They know how to get it done. But I'm a little hesitant to crown them already because we saw how badly it went last year.
Right. I would like to know why exactly the Sportsbooks all of a sudden have Utah rocketing to the top.
And a lot of that is because it follows the money. A lot of times
Right.
the lines follow the money. So that could mean that a lot of people are betting on Utah, which is funny because, I mean, I know there's people that bet in the state of Utah, even though it's not legal.
That doesn't happen here. Come on, Christian.
So that would insinuate there are a lot of people outside of the state of Utah that are picking them, which is interesting. But I think that's why. I mean, that's the like on paper reason, right?
Right.
Because people are betting on it. But it's what is leading everybody to think that all at once, and that's the part I'm trying to figure out.
I think it kind of goes back to one of the conversations that we had a couple weeks ago when we were trying to figure out and rank these teams, man. There's tiers. There's levels in this conference. You have teams that I think are pretty much going to be the bottom feeders, and there's teams that are in contention to win this conference.
Yeah.
I think Utah is in contention to win this conference, but I don't know if I'm ready quite there yet to say that they are a favorite. I think for sure they're probably the most interesting and the most intriguing team.
Yeah.
With how much has changed on offense, and like you mentioned, the respect that Kyle Whittingham has earned.
He demands it at this point.
Yeah, 100%. And even he said, like, look, I can't go out on a disappointing season.
Yeah.
And he's back, and he's obviously the perfect guy to lead this program right now. I think they're the most interesting team because of how much they've been able to rebuild that offense. But I don't know if I'm ready to crown.
So that's what's interesting to me is like rebuild the offense. We have no idea. That's just
That's
talk.
true.
Like
that is 100% true.
We haven't
have no
seen
idea.
them play a game. You would think that, of course, with the way last year went and the year before, with Cam Rising being down and all of the other injuries that they suffered literally all over the defense, you kind of tell yourself, and I'm telling myself, okay, we haven't seen real Utah football in like 2 years. And what happened?
Right.
They won the Pac-12. So I think there's that sort of thought playing into it. But again, you have a new offensive coordinator. It's a completely different offense than anybody on the team ran last year. I mean, of course, it's nice where you have this is what Devin Dampier was running at New Mexico. It's the same offensive coordinator. So it's nice to have them together, and having the quarterback on the same page as the OC is the most important player. But everybody else on the offense, I mean, the line, that's huge for them. And getting used to playing with a quarterback that uses his legs. I know Cam Rising got out and ran a little bit, but it's different. It's not the same as a true mobile quarterback. And as a lineman, that's so hard to block for. And I know that, I mean, a few weeks ago we brought up the sack numbers from Devin Dampier, and he really barely got touched at New Mexico. He did a very good job. So, yeah, you hope that continues now in the Big 12. And obviously Utah has a great offensive line, and hopefully they get all on the same page. But it's far from a guarantee that this offense is going to produce. They're likely going to outproduce what they did last year because that was essentially nothing, right? And then, yeah, you talk about the defense, and the defense is so great. So it's like with that good of a defense, you really just need a serviceable offense. But I'm really hesitant to crown them as anything.
I'm right there with you. We have to see it first. And I think you have a really great test right out of the gate. You have to go to the Rose Bowl and play UCLA. That's a Big Ten team. Maybe not, your top tier Big Ten team, and UCLA has their struggles, but they have Nico, who came over from Tennessee, and I thought Nico last season was a serviceable, good quarterback.
He was a good quarterback. They went to the playoff.
They went to the playoff, got beat by Ohio State, and now he's at UCLA. And so, I mean, you have a really good leader in at UCLA now, but it's a huge test for Utah, and I think we're going to learn a lot about Utah after that first game against UCLA.
Not only that, but they also play Texas Tech. They also play Arizona State. BYU, no matter what their quarterback situation looks like, that's always going to be a toss-up. I mean, Utah almost beat BYU last year with a freshman at quarterback.
Brandon Rose.
You're right, Brandon Rose. They play Baylor. They play Kansas State. That's, 5 of the top teams in the Big 12?
Yep.
It's not an easy schedule by any means.
No.
But I think that if Utah hits their ceiling, yes, I think that is a very real possibility. But what are the odds that they hit their ceiling when we just haven't seen that the last 2 years? And I don't know. It's nice to talk about potential, and it's nice to be excited about it. But you've been let down the last 2 years, and I don't know. I'm more of a wait and see sort of thing before I make any sort of judgment. If they start winning games, I'll buy in. I will.
How much do they have to win before you buy in?
Well, I mean, if they come out of the gates and they're kicking butt, I mean, you expect them to beat UCLA, Cal Poly, and Wyoming.
Right.
Even that game in Laramie, though, you never know how that can go. Nobody likes to go play in Laramie. Texas Tech is their first true test, so we'll see how that goes. And then Arizona State is another. That's the biggest game, I think, of the season, beside obviously BYU. So I think if they come out of the Texas Tech and Arizona State games with 2 wins, with wins against both of those teams, I think that's when you can point as they are the favorite to win the Big 12. If they're 1-1, then they're still contenders, right? If they're 0-2 against those 2 teams, I think you can cool it pretty quickly.
So for you to buy in, this team has to go 5-0 out of the gate.
6.
Or 6-0. Could be. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I forgot about the West Virginia game right there in the middle.
Yeah, I would say so.
Wow.
What about you?
It's a high bar, Christian.
To talk about them as the favorites to win the conference, yeah.
It's a high bar.
I
think you can get away with a loss of one of the 2. You can lose to Texas Tech, you can lose to Arizona State.
Yeah.
You can get away with a loss. There. It's early in the season, and you have games down the road where you can make that up, right? There's a game at Rice Eccles against Kansas State at the end of the season where you can make that up. Then obviously there's a game down in Provo where you can make that up.
Yeah.
And you have a trip to Waco. So there's games down the road where you can make up an early loss to a Texas Tech or an Arizona State. I think you can get away with a loss in one of those games.
The nice thing is Texas Tech and Arizona State are both home for Utah in Salt Lake City. So that's huge. I don't think 6-0 is out of the picture. I think if you're talking about, mid-season, you're talking about favorites to win the conference. If Utah is 6-0 at that point, then yeah, that's a pretty easy answer.
But there's also some sneaky games though right there in between that you can't overlook. Like you mentioned, there's the Laramie trip that you should not overlook, and there's a trip to Morgantown that you should not overlook.
It's a tough schedule.
It is.
And that's why I'm so hesitant. And especially, I mean, that BYU game is tough. That's going to be a really tough game. They barely lost in Salt Lake last year. Now it's down in Provo. Of course, we don't know what BYU's situation is going to look like at quarterback. They could be a complete disaster by then. Who knows? But Utah was a complete disaster, and it was a close game. It came down to the final drive. And then, later in the season, you wrap up Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas. Kansas ruined the season for BYU and Colorado last year. I think that's a very brutal 3-game stretch to end the season on. And by then, the thought there is that you're beat up, right? You've got injuries that have begun to pile up. So if you already have one loss by the middle of the season, and then you face that tough 3-game stretch to end the road or to end the year, that's basically what BYU looked like. And, with 3 weeks left, we're all talking about, oh, yeah, they're going to be playing for the Big 12 championship. And then crap hit the fan
Kansas said no.
in the final few weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's always tough. And that's why my mentality is, if you want to win the conference, you want to be undefeated by midseason. You want to rack up all the wins you can, especially the ones at home.
I agree.
But I think the nice thing is, though, even if Utah makes the Big 12 championship game, I think their schedule is hard enough. You talk about quality losses that the SEC likes to bring up. There's a chance that the Big 12 could get 2 teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
Obviously, Utah would need to have 1, maybe 2 losses at the most,
Yeah.
including the Big 12 championship game at that point. But I think their schedule is hard enough. On paper, we'll see what it looks like throughout the season. There's a chance.
I think, you lose one game, there's a very, very high possibility you're in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
If you just lose one of those games throughout the course of the season. 2, it gets a little irky. But once you get into the 3, you can... Again, it's still a little bit irky because you don't know how clogged up the conference is going to be. We saw it last year. There's a lot of parity in this league.
Yeah.
But once you get to 3, the college football playoff might be out of the picture.
And if you have 2 losses and one of those is the conference championship, I would think you're in the playoff.
That's a different story, yeah.
Yeah.
That you might be able to get away with it. But look at us already talking about a playoff for Utah when they still got to go through UCLA. They still got to go through Laramie. They still got to go through Morgantown, Texas Tech, Arizona State. It's a brutal schedule. But I do think that, for me, they're not by any means favorites. They are contenders.
Yeah.
They are 100% contenders.
And that's what I'm trying to get at is I could see it happening. It wouldn't shock me like last year when BYU was playing like that was a shock to everybody. If Utah does that, we're not going to be surprised.
No.
But I'm not going to sit out here and say that it is going to happen because we're talking about how tough of a schedule that is. I think it's very tough.
They are absolutely 100% contenders. Like I mentioned, with this coaching staff, with Kyle Whittingham at the helm, this team is always going to be in contention to compete. And if they can find any sense of staying healthy this season, they'll be in the mix up until the very end of the season. And like I said, if they can go through this gauntlet of a schedule and try to sneak away with 2 losses, I think you gave yourself a pretty good shot at making that Big 12 championship game.
The staying healthy, man, that's
the biggest thing. And some of that you can control and some of it you can't.
You talk about the last 2 seasons getting away from them, and it's so hard to talk about those 2 years without bringing up all the injuries. I mean, literally everybody you can think of. Like, all of their key players missed time. And I get that that's football and it's a physical sport, but it feels like Utah got hit with it a little harder than most.
It does. And I mean, you had 2 years where you went 2 years in a row where at the end of the season, you're having to start Luke Batari at quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you're just out of options.
The Ferrari.
Yeah, man.
Literally out of options.
Yeah.
They ran out of quarterbacks last year because everybody was hurt.
They did the year before, too.
Cam Rising to Isaac Wilson to Brandon Rose. You ran out of quarterbacks because you were so injured. And the defense, I mean...
They had how many last year? 5 on the roster?
I think
it was 5.
Yeah. We're leaving out somebody that played.
Maybe. But at the end of the day, you started Luke Batari.
Yeah.
And you could, if this Utah team can stay anywhere near 80% healthy, right? You only lose a couple guys here and there. That they're absolutely in the picture to contend.
Well, even just keeping your quarterback, which they haven't done.
Right.
Like, that is, I think that's where you start, right? So we will see. We will see. 6 weeks out, Alex.
Not favorites, but for me, they're contenders, and
Yeah.
so is BYU, even without a QB1 to be named yet.
I'd push back a little bit. We'll talk about that next week.
Yes, there you go.
We got to take a break. Coming up next, on the other side, we'll get 5 minutes of Utah State has an interim athletic director. Seems like the state of Utah is split on that. We'll hit that next. It's the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's almost lunchtime, Alex.
I know, man. You can hear my stomach grumbling over the radio, man. Jeez.
Welcome back to the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles. I was just telling Alex my secrets to an amazing steak.
I'm learning over here.
Reverse sear is the way to go. You know what? I'll share it with the listeners, all the glorious listeners. Don't go buy a New York strip. Don't go buy a ribeye. You don't need to buy those expensive cuts. Tri-tip steaks, not the roast, the steak. Tri-tip steaks. Bake them in the oven at 200 degrees for like a half hour, 45 minutes until the internal temp is like 100 degrees, right? You need a thermometer. Bust out the cast iron, get a nice sear, raise the internal to 130. Beautiful.
You baste it?
No, you don't even.
You don't baste it?
You can.
Okay.
But that's work.
All right.
You can, but like I'm talking as simple as it gets. It takes some time. It takes some love with the baking in a little bit. But I promise you, like you'll eat that steak, and you'll never buy a New York strip again.
I'm gonna try it, man. I'm gonna try it.
It's good.
We're talking about steaks during the break. I'm hungry, and I'll try it, bro. I'll try it and I'll report back. But I might baste it.
Yeah, you can baste it.
I need my butter.
Oh yeah, you totally can.
I'm unhealthy. I need my butter.
Speaking of unhealthy,
Yeah.
let's talk Utah State's athletic department. They announced an interim athletic director, Alex, and I'd say unhealthy as a joke, but
Yes.
there was a lot of split on here because I think Sandy Barber, interim AD, the school has announced. She former Penn State athletic director. She's part of Huron, this what's it called, like a search committee, a search firm, right? So that she is the person that the search firm has established as the interim AD, obviously while the school searches for a president and a long-term athletic director. And the thought process is you hire the interim AD to take care of things now until you hire the president. And then when the president comes in, they can bring in their own athletic director so everybody's on the same page. Everybody in Logan was pumped from this move because obviously you see Penn State, you see that she comes from a big background, has done a lot of great things. Statement says championship level D1 athletics, including NIL, operations, finance, recruiting, facilities management, and marketing. That's from interim president Alan Smith.
A lot of interims.
A lot of interims. It's a tough summer. It always is for the Aggies.
Yeah.
But then locally, I mean, I was listening to Hans and Scotty yesterday. Even Jake and Ben got into it a little bit. I'm sure JJ and Alex had some thoughts. But from what I heard, Hans and Scotty and Jake and Ben's thoughts were like, okay, who cares about the interim? You need a president. That's what matters most. And I agree with that. And I think there were some listeners that maybe took it the wrong way, saying that Salt Lake doesn't know how to cover Logan and yada, yada, yada. Look, I'm pumped that there's an interim athletic director because you need somebody to take care of. Like, that's not a position that can be vacant.
Right.
That's simply not.
Especially not right now.
No, never.
You have a Pac-12 move coming up next year, man.
You just had media days. You're moving to the Pac-12 next year. Football is right around the corner.
Yeah.
And with the way that athletics have changed, even the last couple of years, you constantly need your hand out getting money. And that's part of the athletic director's job, is raising every single penny that you possibly can. So yeah, you need somebody in the interim. I think my biggest takeaway is that I'm glad the seat's filled for now. I don't think this person is going to be the long-term answer. Who cares? Get me a president. Mm-hmm. That's what I want. Because once the president is in place, then you get the full-time athletic director role filled. The problem is I don't know how long that's going to take. Is the president search going to go for another month, another 2 months, another 6 months? Because as long as you've got these temporary people in the positions, nobody's comfortable. Nobody's comfortable coaching. Coach Calhoun, Coach Mendenhall are not comfortable about their futures. Donors, boosters are not comfortable giving money when there's no long-term stability. Nobody's comfortable. So get the president position filled, get your full-time AD, and let's move on. I don't understand what the holdup is, and that's my biggest takeaway from this. I'm sure that Sandy is going to come in and do a fine job. I don't know if she's in consideration for the for the permanent position once they get a president in. I don't know what the dynamic is there. Obviously, she has experience. It's a pretty big jump going from Penn State to Utah State.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to get money in Logan, but there are some avenues there that she will, I'm sure, take advantage of. But look, it's temporary.
And I think that's the biggest thing is the fact that it is temporary. Like you mentioned, with how much is happening with Utah State and with college athletics in general, like it is vital that you fill those roles as soon as you possibly can with non-interim,
right,
long-term solutions. And to me, the biggest thing is right now is a crucial time because you have to start setting up your foundation and your building blocks to make that transition to the Pac-12, to join a new conference, and whether that be. And kind of make yourself a contender in that Pac-12, in the Pac-12, right? I think building blocks have been laid out to make this athletic department good. Now you just need the final pieces and the most important pieces, which is going to be that president and the athletic director.
Yeah.
So the sooner you fill it, the better.
I'm just looking at Utah State's website. They have like a page, Utah State University presidential search. Search is now open, yada, yada, yada. Presidential search and timeline. The board anticipates the next president at Utah State will be named during the 2025-26 academic year. Sorry, bumped my mouse. Because I was like holding up a...
Yes.
Who knows how long that takes?
Right. It could be August. It could be...
January.
December. It could be... July, when the 2025-2026 academic year is over or ends.
So there is a committee in place, and they are searching. I know there are a lot of back and forth about search firms and committees and whatever. It's what everybody does. I don't know. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, they're going to do it again. I don't know. There's no guarantee that somebody hired from an inside search would be better than a committee, right? There's no I'm sure that the fail rate or the hit rate is just the same. I don't think any one is better than the other. I don't think you need to get upset about them having a search firm or whatever. But I don't know, maybe you do, because I that's kind of how Utah State and the Logan community is, right? It's so tight knit. You want to feel like the person that's coming in is really invested in the community, and I get that. And ideally, that would be the case. But with everything that's gone on the past couple of years, I think Diana Sabo laid out kind of a great blueprint on how to do it. I mean, looking at their fundraising numbers over the last couple of years, what they were doing, even in the last 6 months, they raised more money than they probably ever did for that athletic department.
No.
And not just in the 6-month period, but I'm saying that their avenue streams continued to grow and grow and grow under Sabo. And again, her getting this program into the Pac-12, a seat at the table, that's huge. And you've got the coaches in place. You've got all the hard stuff in place. You just got to bring somebody in who knows how to connect to the community and raise money. And yes, it would be cool if you could find somebody local to do that, but it doesn't have to be. Whoever's best at the job is going to be best at the job. I don't care if they're from Logan or not. So we'll see. I am excited for this search. I think it's getting kind of tiring because they hired Sabo 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And President Cantwell around the same timeline. So it's like they're bringing in a new president / athletic director / football coach / basketball coach every other year.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm I want some stability in Logan.
And I think a lot of Utah State fans would like some stability.
I'm sure. And I
Yeah.
don't know if we're ever going to get that just because of the way things are, and it's so tough.
Who knows? Maybe that changes in the Pac-12. Maybe, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, in the next year or and even 5 years down the road. But maybe there's a little bit more stability now that they're heading into the Pac-12.
If they can reestablish the Pac-12 as a true Power 5 conference, which I don't know if that will ever happen, but that is the hope, that is the thought process, then Utah State will theoretically not be a stepping stone program anymore. But again, you've got two incredible coaches in place in Bronco Mendenhall and Coach Jared Calhoun with the basketball team. So,
right. Which, a little bit off topic, but after hearing stuff from Mendenhall and from Bryson Barnes during media days this week at the Mountain West Conference,
sign me up.
I'm pumped for Aggie football, man. I'm pumped.
They're always fun.
I think Bronco Mendenhall has the track record of building programs, right?
That's why they brought him in.
He was phenomenal at BYU. He took off with Virginia a little bit, and had he had more time in New Mexico, they were trending in the right direction. I'm very excited about Bronco Mendenhall and Aggie football, man.
Yeah, I think they like I said, they've got all the hard things in place. It's very hard to find a good football coach. It's very hard to find a good basketball coach. It's even harder to have them both at the same time. Utah State has that. So you would think strictly for that reason alone, there's going to be a lot of really good applicants for the athletic director role. Logan's a beautiful town. I love it. I'm from up near there. It's great up there. I think it's a great community. And when the athletics are rolling, the people really buy in. And I think I think people are ready to jump back into Aggie football.
I need to make it up there, man. I've still yet to travel up and take a look.
Logan?
Yeah.
It's great.
The Spectrum is on my list, man.
Gotta hit it.
I kept telling myself last year I was gonna make a couple of I was gonna try to make some basketball games. Didn't happen. That's fine. But this year it is like on my for sure. This needs to happen. I gotta go experience the Spectrum, man.
You do.
Yeah.
Nothing like it.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up next on the other side, Utah Mammoth announced their regular season schedule. Can't wait to hit that next. Stay with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles with me. Alex, let's talk some Utah Mammoth. In the middle of July, the NHL announces their regular season schedules. We know when the Mammoth are going to be playing. They open the season October 9th at the Colorado Avalanche. Home opener because of the Delta Center renovations and Mr. Benson Boone, etc.
Who?
Benson Boone?
I don't know who that
He has 3 shows in a row. Anyway, because of that,
I don't know who that is.
the Mammoth do not play at home until October 15th when they will host the Calgary Flames. You really don't know who Benson Boone is?
No.
Huh. It's a pretty big deal around here.
Never heard of him.
He's a singer.
I haven't heard of him either.
He's a singer. He does backflips. You've heard his song "Beautiful Things." You have, I promise.
Looking at the schedule, because of the renovations and stuff, you get a little bit more stacked away schedule to start off the season. It looks like, but I mean, in turn, that kind of bodes well as you get closer to the end of the season, where I'm sure there will be some push for the playoffs, where you get to have a nice chunk of games at the Delta Center in front of your fans and in your own barn, as you try to push that try to make that push for playoffs in April. And so I think that's a good thing, right? It's kind of a glass half empty, glass half full type situation where you'll be on the road a lot to start the season, but you kind of end the season with a lot more games at your barn.
I want to bring up this portion of the schedule in specific because it is absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Starting October 21st, you host Colorado, which is nice that you're at home. Then October 23rd, you start a long road trip. You go at St. Louis, at Minnesota, 2 playoff teams, at Winnipeg, another playoff team, at Edmonton. They were just in the finals. Then you come back, you host Tampa Bay for a game, very good team. Then you go back on the road at Buffalo, at Toronto, at Montreal, at Ottawa. So you've got 8 road games across a 9-game stretch.
That's insane.
And more than half of those games are against playoff teams from last year. That is an absolutely brutal stretch.
Yes.
That is undoubtedly the hardest stretch of their season. If they can make it out of that alive, that's all they need to do is come out alive, right? They'll be in good shape.
But on the contrary, like I said, glass half empty, glass half full. You have 8 of your last 13 at home.
Yeah.
With Anaheim, the Kings, the Oilers, Washington. Then you go on a little bit of a road trip to the Kings again, Seattle, and at Vancouver. Then you come back home, another game against the Oilers. You get the Predators, you get the Hurricanes. You go to the Flames for your final away game, and then you go back-to-back at home with Winnipeg and St. Louis.
Looking at that St. Louis game in particular, I mean, that could be a huge game. Hopefully, Utah has a playoff spot locked up by then, but it could, again, very well come down to the last game of the season, essentially as it did last year for the Mammoth. Of course, we saw St. Louis go on that amazing. How many games did they end up winning in a row? Was it like 11 or something? Might have been more than that to make the playoff push and jump Utah in the standings. But again, yeah, you'd like to see them lock up a playoff spot before then. And if they don't, it's nice to have that many home games in a row. Looking at they do have a very long homestand at the beginning of January. January 7th, They host Ottawa. Then they host St. Louis, Columbus, Toronto, Dallas, Seattle, Philadelphia. So January 7th to 21st, almost the entire month of January, you are at home. And I'm sure, you talk about mid-season form, that might be a good time to go see the Mammoth.
And the entire month of February, you are at home. Obviously, there's a big break there in the middle. But you play four games in the month of February, and they're all at home. So
yeah. I think it's a very interesting schedule, to say the least. I am excited that they're opening at Colorado. I think, you want to start a rivalry with either Colorado or Vegas, one of these regional teams. And last year, I mean, Utah shut Vegas out 6-0 in Vegas. Colorado, they're back to full strength with Landeskog back in the lineup, and they're always going to be contenders as long as they've got him and Makar and Nate McKinnon and all those guys. So that could be a very fun game to start the year. Excited to get back into hockey. It's been a fun offseason. Made some big moves, and they're going to be good.
I'm excited, man. Always happy. I'm happy we have hockey here. I'm happy for the Mammoth, and I'm very much looking forward for year 2.
Yeah, I think everybody is. I think the community has definitely embraced this team.
We're a hockey town, man.
Rest of the schedule today on the station, we've got Real Salt Lake coming up later. Pre-match show is at 6:30. Then coming up at 7:30, first kick versus Cincinnati. RSL coming off a 1-0 win against Portland on Wednesday night. So make that 3 wins in a row for RSL. They
5 straight unbeaten.
Yeah, they have not lost in 5 games. So kind of finding their footing as the season rolls on. And then that's 97.5 on the 1280 signal. You're going to have the Bees taking on at Sugarland Space Cowboys. Our guy Steve Klauke always refused to say.
Oh.
It's Tony Parks on the call. No, Steve Klauke refused to say Space Cowboys because he hated that name.
I think it's an interesting name.
I loved that about Steve.
I like it.
Yeah.
Space Cowboys, it's a unique name, man. We need more unique names in sports.
Bees on 1280 at 6.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
No, man. It's just another Saturday in the books. I'm very much looking forward to get closer and closer to football season, man. It's right around the corner. And once football starts up, we're right back to full steam because it goes football. You have Major League Soccer playoffs, then you have basketball starting, and then you have hockey, and then it's right back to a nonstop circle, man. It just keeps going around and around and around, and it starts in a couple weeks.
Circle of life. And we spent a lot of time talking Utah today. We'll hit BYU next week.
Yes.
We'll go through kind of BYU's schedule, and of course, a lot of lead up coming into the season. We'll talk about both teams a ton, but stay tuned. Thanks for listening. It's a Saturday show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.